Well, here we go. Step 5 coming up. So where are we? Well, we've added 1, 2, 3 layers and left leaf shapes there. Because again, we are striving for this sort of final result. Now, we actually have the top layer here, but we haven't added it yet. So what do we have left? Well, we don't want to leave all this blank space here in between the leaves. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our darks in here. So when I say darks, I mean darks. So let's see if I can put this in the range so you can watch me mix it. Right there. I'll give you at least a good idea about what I'm doing. Okay, so to make my darkest dark, I'm going to use French ultramarine, and I'm going to use burnt umber, which is kicking around here someplace. Here it is. Burnt umber, Winsor Newton. Okay, so in this case, I always start with blue. Well, I start with water first. So we'll get a bunch of water. And we're going to make a thick mix here, so I'm not going to go too crazy with the water, just enough to get a little base here going, and I'll come back. All right, so I'm going to put my French ultramarine in here, straight in. I'm going to go with like about a pea size tube paint, which is creamy and delicious. Goes right in. It's not like having to mess with a pan and sit there and dab it for an hour. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for quick color. And again, I use the porcelain palette because it's very white and easy to see what color I'm mixing with the white base in it, and it's very easy to clean afterwards. Okay, so I've got my blue laid down in there, and I'm going to put some burnt umber in there. I'm going to put some in the well next to it so I can go off that rather than go from the tube right in there. Typically, I have these paints on a palette, and I'm not working straight from the tube, but for this video, I'm trying to do it this way just so I can make it easier. So I'm grabbing a bunch of brown on my brush, and I'm putting it in the well here. And we will watch this blue French ultramarine turn from blue to black. This is my favorite dark mix for so many reasons. Mostly because it lifts really easily. So if you want to go back and lighten spots up, it comes right up. It's very dark. It really does the job. And basically, it is the ingredients for what you know as neutral tint. So if you ever want to make your own neutral tint, I just thinned it up a little bit. If you ever want to make your own neutral tint, French ultramarine and burnt umber, Winsor Newton. Okay, I'm going to pull this out from where it is so I can reach it. So you may not see it, but well, let me see if I can just show how dark that is. Dark. Dark. See that? Okay, so now the idea here is that this green around the edges is going to be the green of my darkest leaf. How do I know it's time to stop? Well, the actual leaf and that green are pretty close in color. I can't really put much darker leaves under here. So now I'm going to make this color green the last layer, and in between this last layer and the bottom would be the darkest layer. So I'll start by just filling in some places around where I would consider this leaf here. I'm going to use a smaller leaf. Here we go. All right, so for instance, in here, I'm going to consider that there's a leaf here. And its shape, let's see, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? Let's just do it like this. So we'll start here. And we're going to go out here. Leaving the shapes underneath, being careful to, if I can get my big fat head out of there, being careful to paint around those shapes. And before I go too far, so basically I'm leaving this there, and I can put veins in or whatever I want. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put it, let's say here. Same idea, we're going to paint around it. Don't paint in your last layer, paint around your last layer, so you need to be careful. Right? Like that. And up in here. Look carefully at where it's not touching, so you leave the shape. And as you get closer to the other ones, you have to be more and more careful. The early layers are way easier. Okay, it's going to give me that. Let's see if I can do this. Bring this up a little bit so I can do this without breaking my back. Get in here. Take this down to the edge. So negative painting is leaving the shapes you want rather than painting the shapes you want. By painting around them, the next darker color. And it gives you this found object. This wonderful found object, in this case, a leaf shape. For me, it's less stressful to think of things in terms of their shape rather than what it is. A little bit of a hair there. Good. So we've left that shape there. We're going around it. Okay, let's continue on this mission. Again, I try to use the fattest brush possible. Sometimes to error, I could be using a smaller brush, but I'm also trying to do this in a fairly fast pace. Let's put another leaf shape coming in here so we remember to leave something. Sorry, it's hard to look at the camera and this at once. And I don't have someone else shooting it, so I have to make sure. Where was I? Do, 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 do. You have to get every area that isn't going to be a leaf with this dark color, because it would be the layers under the leaves, right? So we leave that leaf shape. Okay, probably coming on another shape here. Let's see. How about if we make it, let's use this pointy one. This little pointy one. Coming out like right here, maybe. That looks good. Be really careful where the overlapping shapes are not to paint into the other layer or you'll lose that layer. I mean, if you do, you do. Just go with it like everything else. You know, these things change as you go with them. You're never sure exactly how they're going to turn out. And that's so much part of the fun. It really is. Right. Going around here. This is going to be for sure the last layer. And then we'll come back and do details over the top. So now I'm trying to hold the canvas and paint and look at the camera. It's kind of hard. I'm going to put it back down here in a second. Let me get around this. Yeah. Okay. See, I made a little bit of a mistake. I dropped some in the shape and I just blotted it up with a paper towel. No fuss, no muss. Okay, where's my camera shot? Over here. Let's see here. I apologize for the cruddy production here again. Trying to do this all single-handedly. And as you flow with this, you kind of have to have a sense of if you're going to leave something underneath, where you're going to put it, obviously, because if you paint too far and decided you want something there, you would be too late. Let's put another little one here. Something cool. Let's do this. So I'm going with the corner here. Just going to stick this on the corner and paint around it to leave this coming in shape in here. Again, you don't have to use the leaves. If your imagination is good, you could just do it. Just leave the shapes and paint around them. But for this exercise, see how nice? It's fun to leave a leaf. Let's see. Let's try to fit a whole one in here. The more the merrier, but really the more difficult. And why not challenge ourselves, right? Not what this is all about. How many things can we do? Make them work. And where they don't work, we learn. Where they work, we learn too. The hard thing sometimes is reproducing it when it works, because you know what should happen, but it doesn't always happen. Again, that's what makes it fun. Ta-ta! So much fun, so much fun. Keep going, keep going. All right, let's think about this. All right, we definitely want to paint in here. Let me jump down to my little skinnier brush. Quit making it quite so difficult for myself here. Go. Okay, so just to get in here, I want to use my detail brush. Get in as far as I can. Put in these glorious darks. Now notice it looked like black, but it is really a neutral mix and it's very transparent. So your greens are still showing through. It's not coming off as black, it's coming off as extremely dark green, which is cool. I like that. Let's see. Darker here. Just to really let this one pop. It's all about the contrast. Just like life, right? Cool. All right, now let's see what we want to do with this corner as we spin it. I think something cool underneath that one, obviously not this big giant one, but let's get something that goes like, flows right under that one. My already painted leaf. Let's see where this goes here. Let's say this goes here. Maybe something a little bit sharp edged. Let's go with this, it's interesting. How about that? How about that? Who votes yes? All right, so I'm going to stay with the smaller brush just because I'm getting close to the other shapes, although it's really not ideal as far as coming off here. You know what? Let me go back to this just real quick. I'll do like one in my hand here. All right. Now at least I can cover a bigger area. Coming off here. Being careful to try to leave that nice stem underneath it. I love these little holes in the leaves. It's kind of cool. There went that brush. Didn't think I could juggle that for too long, did you? Part of this has to be amusing. Let's see. Let me get a little bit more paint. Oh, you expect your brush to run out of paint? It just does. Let's see. We get a stem going on here. Stem, please. A stem. Can I get a stem? That'll do. Make the rest of that happen. Okay. How cool is that? So now we go through here. Leave the stem. See if we can manage that. And meet the tides here. Now it's becoming a whole organic thing here with leaves and everything just flying around. Let's see. We need something down here in this corner. Just kind of, just as a hint that we're still in Leaf City here. Let's see. It gets a tad dicey now. Keeping it fun. Whoops. Keep the gate straight, deep and wide. All right, here we go. Get back down in here. I typically will go back and look at this when it dries. And if I have to spot it or add some more into the darks, you know, I will. Moving fast around objects, sometimes you have things that you might like or don't like. They can always be adjusted. So I'm going to go back to the little brush that I dropped on the floor. So we can clean off the little brush that I dropped on the floor. Just so I can get in here and make sure, put this brush down, make sure I get these areas dark. There we go. I've talked about it before. I hope I demonstrated a little bit, is you just kind of have to have a positive attitude. If you mess something up, you just kind of smile and keep going. It doesn't matter, really. You tell yourself things like make straighter lines, not, boy, am I terrible at painting, because that doesn't work, you know, it doesn't get you anyplace. You know, make this darker, make this lighter, a little more here next time. I could always do this again if I wanted to. Those are the positive things you can tell yourself when you paint that keep you coming back for more. Wow, somehow I dipped into a very blue vein of this. It's kind of cool. I'm going to have to mix this dark a little bit again because it's kind of funny. It's starting to change. And what that is. And texture is fine here, right? Because there's other leaves underneath. We just can't see them. Our imagination can see them. And that's what this is all about. All right, how about one more leaf, one more little leaf, or leaf shape? Let's see. How about just like that? We'll paint around that. Yeah. And this is real time, so you could always, you know, watch it later, fast forward. I don't want to hear Ross. I just want to see the end result. You can rewind it. Kind of cool. I tried doing this on Facebook video for those of you who didn't see it earlier, and boy, it was all pixelated and choppy and stuff. It just didn't work at all. YouTube has this live video. It's called a live event, and that's what I'm using here, and it works through what's called Google Hangouts. Very neat. All right, oops, little place here. And I think I'm done dealing with the leaves. Organic matter to the background. Okay, how's this looking? Ooh, it's kind of cool. So let me fill this in here. I don't like painting large areas with little brushes. I'll have you know that. But getting around these little leaves, it's almost necessary. This was like that, right? Dabby, 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 dabby. All right. I think that we are done as far as layering. So the next step after this layer dries is I'll be putting veins in the top leaves. I'll use complementary colors to paint on top of here. I have in my head, I'm going to use a dilute solution of cadmium red. You could use anything permanent. Permanent rose madder might be nice. You could use rhodonite, which is a Daniel Smith mineral paint. There's a lot of things you could use. And I also will, around the edges of here, I will use a 2-brush blending technique and create some shadows. In fact, now I want to make it a separate part, because I could do some now because technically it's dried on there, but I'm going to go ahead and make it a separate part. So now what would I do? I'm going to wait for this to dry. Then I'll look at it, and I won't record this part, but I'll go through and I'll look at some of the valleys and stuff in here, and I'll go through and I'll probably touch it up a little bit just to be a little tighter on it if I want. Otherwise, I'll just let it be, right? It's an impressionist leaf painting. And we're going to go ahead and put, by lifting, we'll lift some lines in these, and we'll add a little bit of detail on the side ones. Maybe we'll cover them up at the end, at the very end, and spatter like with a toothbrush a little bit on the very top. Some people love spattering. I've even gone to the next level of putting like water drops on there, but it gets a bit much after a while. So the whole idea more is to try to get that level thing, that the aerial perspective by using tones, where we have a top layer, another layer, another layer, another layer, and then the final outline layer, or the final lower layer, I should say, going darker as we go down. So, you know, looking at this, I'm thinking that this leaf here isn't enough to really make sense. I mean, if I was going to put a vein here, or a vein here, or blah, 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 I don't know if that would really work. So what I'm thinking is, let's just make it contrasty while I'm still here yapping and I noticed it. And let's go in here and paint that dark. Like there's no leaf under there, or if there is, it's way down. And that way this bright yellow here, or I should say, you know, this upper level layer will really pop too, because the contrast of this darkness down there will even make it even more bright, which is one of my favorite serendipities of watercolor. If you want a light color, surround it with a dark color, and vice versa. Like I said, contrast is what it's all about in life. So that's going to even make the centers pop more. Yeah. And I'll look around here. I'll probably fill in a little bit here and stuff. You just need to look at your own work and see, because they all develop differently. I'm going to go ahead and flatten it out to let it sit there and dry. And I will be back for the next part shortly. Thanks for watching.